Alright, I am pumped for today's video. We are going to be explaining the creation of the famous Evans Gambit. Probably the most well-respected gambit in chess, to be honest. Could still be played at top level. My brain is going in a million different directions. I'm going to try not to spaz. I'm going to try to organized spaz, get everything in. So I might be all over the place, but I promise you there is a lot of good info that will be in this video. So first things first, Captain William Davies Evans, long name back then, he was a shoreman. He was the first person to play the Evans Gambit. And today we're going to be looking at the first Evans Gambit game ever played. He also created fluorescent bulbs for ships' hulls to be seen at night. So he was an inventor too, the jack of all trades. They weren't just, he went to war when he was 14 years old. Can you guys just, you can't compare different eras of chess. They were just built different back then. Some other fascinating stuff is AI, such as AlphaZero. So back when Garry Kasparov was around and Deep Blue was created by IBM, they used to, put the rules of the game in, put databases, grandmaster games, blah, 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 and it could still get beaten. It wasn't the strongest way. Nowadays, AI learns themselves and they just play infinitely amount of times simultaneously. So they're only programmed with the rules of the game. And they take the rules of the game, they play over and over and over and over again. Within a day, they're stronger than the strongest person ever. And then incrementally, bell-shaped curve, it slower progression over time. But they only know the rules of the game. They become an elo of like 3,600. And so they create openings because they were only given the rules of the game, and it created the Evans Gambit. And I think that is wicked that humans back then solved some of chess to a T. I mean, to come up with the Evans Gambit so peculiar, and then the engine comes up with it and thinks it's a solid opening, that is amazing. So today I had ambitious intent. I wanted to go over the first Evans Gambit game, explain this, and then I wanted to give Evans Gambit theory and look over a Fischer game where he stomped his grandmaster opponent. And then I was like, whoa, it's going to be like a 1 hour video. People don't even have the attention span to watch like a 30-second video. I mean, yeah, that makes me sad too. You know those shorts they're called, and then there's different trends and people embarrass themselves and do stupid dances or say ridiculous stuff just to get clicks. It honestly saddens me that we have the brain capacity of a goldfish now. I'm optimistic. I'm an optimistic person, but we're trending downwards. That much I'm positive of. So today we're just going to look at the first Evans Gambit game ever. I doubt anyone's still watching because I just rambled like a idiot, but hopefully you are. Tomorrow's video will be a Fischer game where he stomped a grandmaster. I think it was a blitz game. Still, respect. And some theory mixed in. So 2 shorter videos. I think that's a good compromise. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. Oh, and by the way, he's playing a 2400 in this game. I forgot his name. I do apologize. They were probably like at sea just playing chess. This sounds like such a fun time, except not because they were at war when they were. That's bad. So bishop c4, bishop c5, we get a Joko piano, and okay, the Evans Gambit b4, he elected to castle first, and now after d6 he played b4. Give the man some slack. It was 1800. Evans Gambit b4, that is the idea. The Gambit is an idea that if bishop takes, you get c3 with a tempo, and then you get full control of the center. And same thing, if the knight takes c3, the knight bounces back. Also just had coffee, so now I'm like wicked alert. My apologies. c3, the bishop can go to a5 or c5. We will discuss both those in the video tomorrow. In this game, we get bishop to a5, still main line, d4. He's already castled, so it's transposed into a pure Evans. Okay, we get bishop to g4, a pin. That makes sense. It kind of removes the defender from d4. Also removes an attacker from e5 if that was his intention, and queen b3. So the Evans is all about these diagonals. The bishops are monsters. I would definitely take the bishop pair in the Evans Gambit. So he's aiming at f7 with ill intent. And okay, so let's say bishop takes f3. It was not played, but it was playable. we would get bishop takes f7, king to f8, you take back. It's a balanced position, but it's one of those positions it's like balanced. Like what is going on? We don't even know. It hangs on a razor's edge, so that would be a fun game. However, we did not get that. We got queen d7. Dubious at best. Point is, he's guarding against f7. There's many cool things you could do here. You can even sack right away. The Evans Gambit's all about sacking a lot of pieces, and even this is playable. That was not played, but just to show you the vision these pieces have. Knight g5, I do like this move better. Why not exert a ton of pressure onto f7? Here, black can go knight h6. Basically, he just needs to guard f7, and he does that by going knight to d8. Now, white takes. In the Evans Gambit, why do you take on e5? Sometimes it's to open up the d file, yes, but probably not that because the bishop is guarding d1. So in this position, he took because bishop to a3. The black king gets paralyzed in the center of the board a lot of the time, especially with this knight on d8, can't even castle queenside, nor would you probably want to, but that's besides the point. Bishop to a3, this king is stuck. As we discussed yesterday, it's very hard to play when your king cannot move. It's so easy to get obliterated. I don't care if the game is in the balance or not. It's just very hard to play like that. Okay, we got knight h6 over protecting f7. That is logical, maybe freeing up his other knight. We got pawn to f3, kicking the bishop out. He should have went bishop e6 to relieve some of the pressure. He throws a check. Okay, that's good. But then he goes bishop h5. So he didn't want to trade the bishops, and he wanted to guard f7. That is understandable, but now we get rook to d1. This queen is getting pressured on the d file, so it has to move. It elects to go to c8. Black's position is not good, to say the least. And now we get rook takes d8. So, hear me out. Yes, you could see the bar drop, but I'm still going to say this is a brilliant idea. So let's look at what was wanted. Queen to b5 check. Okay, that makes sense. Checking the king, aiming at the pawn on e5. If they push the pawn, you just take and there's going to be mate. So they have to go knight c6. They have to guard the pawn. Now we would get bishop d5, aiming in on everything. They would have to go queen to d7, the only way they could protect. Bishop takes. If queen takes, checkmate. And if pawn takes, we take, still going to be checkmate. King d8. Look at the savagery of how you could do it too. Queen e7, exploiting the pin. King c8. And then, I mean, need I explain more? That's how good the position is. Need I explain more? So, rook takes d8. And look at this brilliant idea. So, you can take with the queen, you can take with the king. If you take with the king, do you see the brilliant move? Hard to see. Knight to e6. All right, let's talk about why. Well, if queen takes, you lose a queen. That's easy. If king takes, bad stuff will happen. Removing all the defenders. King still trapped. Board wide open. So we got pawn takes, bishop takes, queen has to move. Unless, look at this, bishop f7. I was looking at this. Pinning the bishop to the queen. So if I win your queen, you win my queen. A sick line. And then you got to find queen d1. And then after the king moves, then you win the queen. So fascinating stuff. I like to go off on tangents, as you guys could tell. F takes e6, bishop takes e6, we would get queen to b8, and then mate would ensue. Bishop to d5, king e8, queen d7. So, I'm not going to say rook takes knight was a blunder. That is a deep, deep idea, and I'm sure he saw it. Well, I'm not sure, but I would assume. Queen takes d8, and now a brilliancy. Knight takes f7. See, it's all about sacrificing. It's all about open lines in the Evans Gambit. What could we like more? Okay, point of this move. Well, if bishop takes f7, that is going to be mate, right? They need to block with the queen, and then we have a battery if we take with the queen, and that is mate. And if they take with the knight, bad things also happen. Bishop to b5, check. This is really not to give the check. It's kind of not a spite check, but it allows the queen to come in, and we get the same exact checkmate. So, after queen takes d8, knight takes f7, he had to find queen to f6. He would still lose. Instead, he found queen to h4. Now, he is still losing. Queen to b5, check. The king cannot move. c6 is forced. We finally win the pawn on e5. And now, when the king moves, queen e6 check, king's in a box, has to go to c7, and using all the pieces, bishop to d6, check, and mate. So, a beautiful game from the early 1800s. Captain Evans was a stud. They weren't just doing chess back then. My mind cannot comprehend. I have a lot of respect for the older generations. So this was a checkmate. I hope you guys made it to the end of the video. Understandable if you haven't, because I speak a lot and I'm very random with my thoughts, but hope you enjoyed. Have a great day, and thank you for watching.